Good morning. Welcome to Cascade Unitarian Universalist Fellowship. My name is Lee Pobbs. I'm honored to be your celebrant this morning, along with our worship leader, Rita Salama. This is a diverse community, united by the shared affirmation of the inherent worth and dignity of every person, regardless of age, color, who you love, and what you believe. People come to this sacred space for many reasons: to find community, explore personal and spiritual truths, to seek peace and comfort. Others come to question, to explore new ideas, to find answers. Regardless of the reason, know that you are seen, valued, and embraced within this community. If this is your first time here, we are glad you have joined us. And welcome to those on Zoom. We appreciate every person for choosing to be here. Please turn around and wave to those joining us on Zoom. Owen Barnes is our Zoom host today. Now please take a moment and greet those around you, especially someone you don't know well. You're all invited to stay for coffee, treats, and community after the service. May this time together offer inspiration, connection, and a sense of belonging. Let us begin. I'd like to remind everyone to check your emails for your announcements that come out on Thursday and Friday. If you aren't currently on the email list, please see a greeter to be added. We respectfully acknowledge that we are gathering on the traditional and ancestral lands of the Pascosa people who have lived in relationship with this land for countless generations. The Pascosa are part of the larger confederated tribes of the Colville Reservation, and their deep connection to the rivers, mountains, and valleys of this region continues to this day. We honor the Pascosa people not only as the original stewards of this land, but also as the carriers of rich cultural knowledge, resilience, and spiritual traditions. One such tradition from the Ojibwe people that holds deep significance across many Native cultures is the use of dream catchers. Dream catchers, woven with care and intention, are, according to Native tradition, believed to filter dreams, allowing good thoughts to pass through while catching and holding back negative dreams or spirits. Dream catchers, while not necessarily a Pascosa tradition, are sacred to many Native peoples as symbols of protection, healing, and the power of ancestral wisdom. In acknowledging the land, we also acknowledge the living cultures, stories, and sovereignty of Indigenous peoples, past, present, and future. May we move forward with humility, respect, and a commitment to learning and unlearning in support of Indigenous voices and rights. Now, let's rise in body or spirit to sing our opening song. Come sing a song with me.
A Place of Belonging and Caring by Kimberly Ann Tomzak Carlson. It is not by chance that you arrived here today. You have been looking for something larger than yourself. Inside of you, there is a yearning, a calling, a hope for more, a desire for a place of belonging and caring. Through your struggles, someone nurtured you into being, instilling a belief in a shared purpose, a common yet precious resource that belongs to all of us when we share. And so, you began seeking a beloved community, a people that does not put fences around love, a community that holds its arms open to possibilities of love, a heart home to nourish your soul and share your gifts. Welcome home. Welcome to worship.
The chalice and flame symbolize our congregation gathered in principles and faith. If you at home have your own chalice with you, please join me now in lighting it. Here in the sanctuary, we will speak these lighting words in unison. We light this chalice as a symbol of the sacred spark within each of us. May its light open space for dreams to enter that carry the whispers of wisdom from deep within and far beyond.
Well, if you are a child or just want to act like one today, you're welcome to come to the front, or you guys can just stay where you are if you want to. I'm going to be sharing a story, and this is a story from the Bible. It's an old favorite of mine, and it has 6 dreams in it, so that's why I chose it for today. So, Jacob was an old man who lived in Canaan. He had 12 sons, but he loved his 2 youngest the best. As a special gift, Jacob had a coat of many colors made for Joseph. And I have a helper to be Joseph for us. Joseph was the second to the youngest, and he was 17. Joseph's 10 older brothers were jealous and hated him. Then, one morning, Joseph said,
"Guess what? Last night I had a strange dream. We were tying up a bunch of grain out in the field when suddenly our bunch stood up. While all the ears gathered around and bowed."
Oh, his brothers replied, "Oh, so now you think you're going to rule us, huh?" They hated him even more. But that didn't stop Joseph from telling them and his father about his next dream. He said,
Okay. I had a dream last night. Last night I had a dream that the sun and the moon and the 11 stars bowed down to me.
his father scolded him, "Joseph, what is this dream of yours? Do you really think that your mother, your brothers, and I are going to bow down to you?" As you can probably guess, the dream only made his brothers hate him more. One day, the 10 older brothers took their father's herds to feed in fields that were miles and miles away. After a while, Jacob sent Joseph to check on them and see if there was any news. When the brothers saw Joseph in the distance, they said, "Oh, look, here comes the dreamer. Let's kill him and put an end to his dreams." But Reuben, Joseph's oldest brother, said, "Let's not kill him. Let's just throw him in that cistern over there." So they grabbed him, stripped him of his beautiful coat, and threw him in the cistern. Reuben was secretly planning to come back and rescue Joseph. Not too long after, it happened that a group of traders came by. They were headed to Egypt. One of the brothers, Judah, had a brilliant idea. "Why don't we sell Joseph to these people? This way we never have to see him again, we don't have to kill him, and we can make some money. The brothers agreed, except for Reuben, who was away with the herd. They sold Joseph for 20 pieces of silver. As a cover-up, they killed a goat and dipped Joseph's colorful coat in blood. When Jacob, his father, saw it, he thought his favorite son had been killed by a wild animal. He was overcome with sorrow and grieved for days and couldn't be comforted. In the meantime, Joseph had been sold as a slave in Egypt to Potiphar, one of Pharaoh's officers. Joseph excelled at everything he was asked to do, so Potiphar put him in charge of his household. Potiphar's wife liked Joseph. I mean, really liked Joseph, if you get the drift. And when Joseph wouldn't do what she wanted, she told her husband a vicious lie about him. Potiphar believed her and had Joseph put in jail. Even in jail, he excelled, and it wasn't long before the warden put Joseph in charge of all the prisoners. Now, Pharaoh's butler and his baker had displeased him. He had them sent to the jail, the same jail, and one night each of them had a dream. First, the butler told his dream to Joseph. He dreamt of a vine with 3 branches, and when the grapes were ripe, he squeezed them into Pharaoh's cup and put the cup in his hand. Joseph told the butler that in 3 days he would be let out of jail and would be serving Pharaoh again. Joseph said,
"When you are in the Pharaoh's presence, please ask him to let me out of this jail."
The next dream was by the baker. He dreamt he had 3 baskets of bread on his head for Pharaoh, but the birds were eating out of the baskets. Joseph told the baker that in 3 days, Pharaoh would have his head. Both interpretations of the dreams came to pass, but the butler forgot about Joseph's request. 2 years later, Pharaoh had a dream, and nobody could explain it to him, not even his wisest advisors. The butler told Pharaoh about Joseph's abilities in deciphering dreams. Joseph was brought from the jail. When Joseph was standing in front of the ruler, Pharaoh asked, "Can you tell the meaning of dreams?" And Joseph replied,
"I can't by myself, but God helps me."
Pharaoh told him about his first dream of 7 fat cows eaten by 7 skinny cows. Then his second dream of 7 fat heads of grain eaten by 7 skinny heads. Joseph explained,
God is warning you that there will be 7 years when nothing will grow and there won't be any food for anyone. God has also shown you what to do. During the good years, store the extra food for bad years.
Pharaoh believed Joseph. He made him his right-hand man and put him in charge of the land of Egypt, making sure they would be prepared for the drought. Then the great famine came. People came from everywhere, even Joseph's faraway home, to buy grain from Joseph. Some of those people were Joseph's older brothers. Joseph recognized them immediately, but they did not recognize the man in front of them. Last time they had seen Joseph, 10 years earlier, he had been a boy of 17. Now he was an important person, Pharaoh's second-hand man. He had a new name, wore fine linen clothing, a gold chain around his neck, and even a ring that the Pharaoh had taken off his own hand and put on Joseph's hand. And there in front of Joseph were his 10 older brothers, all bowing to him, just as he dreamed they would so many years before. So that's the end of that part of the story, but there's more. So go to your Bible and find out what happens next. And now I invite the people sitting along the center aisle to please rise, form an arch, and sing the children on their way to their RE class. To find meaning in the spirit of love that we share. Now go with each other to find meaning in the spirit of love that we share.
This is a sacred moment in our service, a time we set aside to honor the life events that touch us at our very core. Whether they bring joy, sorrow, hope, or heartache, these moments shape us. This is not a space for politics or promotion. It's a space for reverence, for tenderness, and for deep presence. We ask that each person speak with care, sharing only what is theirs to share, with respect, permission, and love. Please keep your words brief, allowing space for all voices. This ritual of sharing is an opening, a doorway to deeper connection, to witnessing one another, and to being witnessed. I will add one more for those unspoken places we carry in our hearts. And as we sing this music, you're welcome to come forward and silently light a candle. We now open ourselves in silent prayer or meditation to the source of our being and the guide of our spirit. The words of wisdom come from Carl Jung. The dream is a little hidden door in the innermost and most secret recesses of the soul, opening into that cosmic night which was psyche long before there was any ego consciousness, and which will remain psyche no matter how far our ego consciousness extends. All consciousness separates, but in dreams, we put on the likeness of that more universal, truer, more eternal man dwelling in the darkness of primordial night. There, we are still the whole, and the whole is in us, indistinguishable from nature and bare of all egohood. It is from these all-uniting depths that the dream arises.
I am fascinated by dreams, but that wasn't always the case. I once saw a therapist for a few sessions for help with some issues I was dealing with, and she asked the most curious question. Did I have any dreams that I remembered? I said no, but I thought to myself, what a ridiculous question. What does that have to do with anything? Then, a few years later, my husband surprised me by saying he wanted a divorce. It was a very challenging time, but one of the upsides was that I started attending church here. I'd recently been having some spiritual experiences that I needed to explore, and I knew I could find support here while I was doing that. One night, not long after I started attending, I had a dream that my soon-to-be ex-husband was standing knee-deep in garbage, and he was wiping garbage off his mouth. But the most unusual thing about the dream, it's never happened to me since, was that when I woke up, I could smell garbage for days. It really got my attention. So the next Sunday, when I was at church, John Crew, some of you remember John, came up to me and said, "Hey Rita, would you like to come to dream group?" My immediate response was yes, because I'd had that dream. I went, discussed my dream, and I have been hooked on dream work ever since. I've been in 2 dream groups, went to workshops, read books, and joined an online class called Dream School. Raise your hand if you dream. Okay, everybody's hand should be up because everybody dreams. Each night we have about 6 dreams, adding up to about 2 hours of dreaming. If you live to be 80, that is 6 years of your life. Some of you may be thinking you don't dream, but everybody does. And animals, dogs, cats, monkeys, zebra finches, and others, they dream too. However, there is a difference between dreaming and remembering your dreams. I don't know if the animals remember their dreams or not. But how about you? Raise your hand if you remember your dreams, or at least once in a while remember a dream, or have at least one dream or dream fragment you recall from long ago. Okay. Then ask yourself, if those have no meaning, then why do you remember it? This is what you need to dream. Sleep. Sleep is a time of restoration for our immune, nervous, skeletal, and muscular systems, as well as the processes that control mood, memory, and cognitive function. About 13 years ago, researchers found that sleep is a means for the brain to cleanse itself of waste products. In fact, it may be the core reason we need to sleep, and why you feel groggy and can't think clearly if you haven't had enough sleep. When we sleep, 4 different sleep cycles repeat each night during the night. Dreams occur during the REM sleep, or the rapid eye movement stage of sleep. This is when your eyes move rapidly beneath your closed lids, your heart rate increases, and your brain becomes highly active, particularly in regions involved in memory and emotion. These cycles happen about every 90 minutes, and they become progressively longer as the night goes on. The first is about 5 minutes, but by morning, it can last as long as 45 minutes, which is where we get the real long, elaborate dreams. Where do these dreams come from? For the psychiatrist Carl Jung, founder of the School of Analytical Psychology, dreams were a major focus of his work. His model of the psyche shows where dreams originate. It starts with the outer world, our persona, or the social face we put on, and our ego, which is our personal identity. It's who we mean when we say I. Then there is the inner world, our personal unconscious traits, our complexes, or the emotionally charged centers of energy that we have, and our shadow, or the parts of ourselves that we deny or try to. Jung goes even deeper to what he refers to as the collective unconscious, which is unique to Jungian psychology. It is an ancient part of our psyche where universal patterns, instinctual traits, and possibilities exist. It connects humankind across cultures and throughout time. It is also the place where archetypes live, those patterns that are universal that we all recognize, such as the hero, the witch, home, coming of age. In fact, the Christ mythology is a good example. There are at least 16 crucified Savior stories that it existed before Jesus. 16 of them, as widespread as Egypt, Tibet, and Mexico. So where do those all come from? It seems like there's something in the collective unconscious that we all relate to, that story of the Savior and the crucifixion. And then there is the self with capital S. This is the heart of the psyche, where its inner and outer world come together in the archetype of wholeness. It is the basis of ego and transcends it. When you have an encounter with the self, you may feel a sense of awe. The self wants only our well-being and speaks to us through our dreams from our own personal dream maker. Jeremy Taylor, author of Where People Fly and Water Runs Uphill, says that dreams come to us in the service of wholeness and healing. They invite us to take a more creative approach to life and to interact with the unconscious. Who knows us better than we know ourselves? If you want to get to know yourself on a more intimate level, if you want to grow, you have a guide nudging you on the correct course several times every night, the Dream Maker. So that is the invitation. If you would like to unlock the hidden inner door, it starts with remembering your dreams. I believe, like any other thing you do of worth, it starts with intention and is followed by attention. Here are some ways to set your intention. You can write a letter to your dream maker. Maybe you want to thank it for always being there for you, or let it know of your intention to have a relationship with it or to remember your dreams. You can place it by your bedside or under your pillow. You could buy a special dream journal and put it by your bedside with a pen and maybe a flashlight. You reach for it if a dream wakes you, or the first thing in the morning to write down something, anything that you remember. You can even write, "No dream recalled." That sets up a process for remembering your dreams when you do have them. Jeremy Taylor says that the best way to start remembering your dreams is right before you fall asleep. You imagine yourself remembering your dream when you wake up. Another way to remember is to have a context for discussing them. I belong to a dream group, and I will often remember a dream the night before dream group, even though I haven't remembered one for 2 weeks. Then you pay attention. Maybe spend a few quiet moments before you get out of bed, letting your mind drift to see if something from the night surfaces. Joseph Lee, one of the founders of This Jungian Life and Dream School, says it's like dropping in a line and seeing what bites. Once you have a nibble, often other parts of the dream will surface. You do not have to have a complete dream to benefit. Even a mere scrap of a dream can yield valuable insights. I remember reading of a young man that all he could remember of his dream was a pastel color. But in working with that and with a dream group, he realized that he needed a softer line of work, and also that he needed to acknowledge his feelings for men. Each dream, no matter how mundane it might seem, should not be disregarded as or thought of as unimportant. The dream maker chose it just for you, to tell you something about yourself that your conscious mind doesn't know. We say that all parts of the dream are part of the dreamer. Jung equated it to a theater in which the dreamer is himself the scene, the player, the prompter, the producer, the author, the public, and the critic. Certain characters and props are chosen to assist with the story. Once you remember your dream or a snippet, you can start to work with it. My favorite way to do this is with a dream group, because the members have your best interests at heart and can see things that your ego is trying to block. Our egos are very comfortable with the way things are, our familiar patterns, even if they are harmful, and it doesn't relish change or growth. Plus, dream groups are a lot of fun. Another method I like to use is active imagination. I close my eyes and go back into the dream, calling to mind all the details, and I start asking the different elements what they represent, what they are there to tell me. For example, "I see you, Mr. Vending Machine. What would you like me to know?" You can use dream dictionaries, but please don't get the ones that have one meaning for one of the props in your dream. Say, for example, dreaming about a clock means you have anxiety about not being on top of things. Dreams are highly personal, and for you, clocks may make you feel comforted if they bring fond memories of your grandparents who were clock collectors and you went to sleep at their house hearing all that ticking from all their clocks. Better are the dream dictionaries that give several suggestions for meaning, refer to myths and history and etymology, and are ways to open your mind to what your dream might mean. Dreams are not codes with objects standing in with a corresponding sign. That is what Freud did when he was looking for sexual imagery and everything, and you've heard sometimes a cigar is just a cigar. Tell that to Monica Lewinsky. Yeah. Instead, our dreams are filled with personal symbols to be discovered. The challenging thing about dream work is that the dream maker does not speak the language of the logical mind, the conscious mind. It uses the language of symbols and imagery from the unconscious, and there are also plays on words. For example, I once had a dream that I was standing on a very small planet. The dream maker was telling me that in order to achieve what I wanted to do, I had to plan it. Yeah. In working with dreams, you have to get comfortable with being in the messiness of the dream, of the not knowing. Jung, who had interpreted thousands of dreams, said, quote, "So difficult is it to understand a dream that for a long time I have made it a rule when someone tells me a dream and asks for my opinion to say first of all to myself, I have no idea what this dream means. After that, I can begin to examine the dream," unquote. Each element of the dream may have multiple meanings, so it's really important not to take things literally in dreams. Here's an example from the book Dreamwise. This woman said, "I was buying treats for Halloween. The chocolate candy was expensive, so I bought candy corn in bulk from a barrel. I could make up small bags for trick-or-treat when I got home." Sounds pretty straightforward. Halloween was coming. The dreamer needed to buy candy. But remember, the dream maker is trying to tell the dreamer something that she doesn't already know. In working with the dream, you might ask, why isn't the dreamer letting herself buy the preferred chocolate candy for a hallowed time? How is she treating the sacred parts of her life? Is she selling herself short by choosing something cheaper and something that is going to require mundane work on her part? Where does this show up in her life? It can go even further by taking a look at the historical significance of chocolate and Halloween. And what about nightmares or repeating dreams? The dream maker is really trying to get your attention. Once you address what is behind the dream, the meaning of it, you will probably find that it is no longer something that haunts you. Whether you are working on finding the meaning of your dreams by yourself or in a group, it is immensely satisfying to get to the aha moment or help someone else get there. It's when the meaning of the dream surfaces and you see with clarity what you couldn't see before. The dream carries a message about what needs correcting in your life and also how to make the correction, or at least a nudge in that direction. It is the little hidden door in the innermost and most secret recesses of your soul. The invitation is for you to open the door.
The offering is an ancient element of worship. Giving, regardless of the amount, is a spiritual practice that expresses our thankfulness and generosity. We live these values and abundance. Joyfully sharing our gifts and strengths in service to the greater good is one way we create the beloved community. We live these values. We are blessed by your generosity. May your gifts make a difference in our communities through the ministries of this church. And now let's rise in body or spirit in singing our closing song, Spirit of Life, hymn number 123.
Our benediction is by Sarah Morse Campbell. We receive fragments of holiness, glimpses of eternity, brief moments of insight. Let us gather them up for the precious gifts that they are, and renewed by their grace, move boldly into the unknown.
And now, as we extinguish our chalice, please join me in saying the words printed in your order of service or on the screen. we extinguish this flame, and from this light may we honor the unseen, listen to our inner knowing, and walk forward with courage and truth. And now let's do our traditional closing song, joining hands.